this first podcast, we're going to talk about that movie Pressure with Brandon Fraser in it. Talks about Eisenhower and D-Day, June 5th and 6th, 1944. The whole movie is centered on gathering data, the best data we can get, and using that data to make an intelligent guess. Should we launch the massive invasion on June 5th or not? June 6th hadn't come up yet in the beginning of the movie. The pressure was on the weather. The problem was the weather. If they launched the invasion during a hurricane-like storm, and keep in mind that while we were making these decisions Friday and Saturday leading up to Monday the 5th, the weather was perfect. I mean, the sky was blue, the sun was shining, and everybody said, hey, it's a go. But one British expert, group commander, Stagg, I think his name was, he looked at all the data coming in from the weather balloons and all of the stationary weather stations throughout the region. Couldn't get anything from Europe because it was all occupied by Germany. What they could get was leading group commander Stagg to believe that there was going to be a hurricane-like weather conditions on Monday, June 5th. If that was true, they would not only have a failed launch, but troops would die. They had gone through a training exercise called Operation Tiger and a couple of other ones, Operation Fabius and Operation Fox. Fox and Fabius weren't too bad, but Tiger was a disaster because of miscommunication, friendly fire, and the German surface E-boats, the torpedo boats. They sunk some ships with troops on them. I mean, there were 700-800 men died during that training operation because of the problems that they hadn't anticipated. So Eisenhower knew this, and his advisor, a lieutenant colonel, forget what his name was, he was saying, hey, based on predictions of Monday, based on data from prior similar conditions, he said the weather was going to be perfect. This creates actually a double-edged sword, because while the weather would be good for the landing troops, it would also be good for the Germans. They could fly their own air cover to attack the boats and the men and the pillboxes, the machine gunners along the ridge where Normandy was. They could see it would be perfect. So it would be perfect for both sides. But there was that stick in the mud, wing commander, group commander, Stagg, saying the weather was going to be disastrous. And Eisenhower had to make a decision based on that imperfect data, and the least problematic was to decide not to go at all, because there at least he knew he wouldn't be risking his troops and the equipment. If he decided to go and the hurricanes did show up, then lives would be lost. It would be a disaster. The only problem with all the other advisors that Eisenhower had, Field Marshal Montgomery, all the other cabinet member level advisors, was telling him, look, we have to go on June 5th because that's when they'll have a full moon. That's when the tide conditions will be perfect. And the next opportunity to have that available would be June 18th, which was 2 weeks later almost. And they knew by that time they would have lost the element of surprise. Germany would have realized that all those deception exercises that they had would be discovered. And Germany would probably guess it was going to be Normandy instead of Calais, where General Patton was masquerading as that's going to be the landing site. There's one that was made most sense. But anyway, at the last second, without knowing any more information than he had up to that point on Saturday, he decided, I think it's Saturday at 4 o'clock, he made the choice to not go. It was a no-go. Everybody goes, oh, man, what? But anyway, he made the decision as his decision was final, and that was it. So there you go. However, working in the background was Group Commander Stagg. He was still gathering data, still trying to see what the weather was going to be like, because the war was not over. Just because Eisenhower decided not to go on June 5th, that doesn't mean that the war was over. They had to do something. And so Group Commander Stagg was gathering the information to see what was coming up. And he got enough data to where he realized that there was going to be a possibility of a relapse in the weather. The storm was still going to come on Monday. The weather was going to be horrific. However, he said, based on his predictions, there would be a possibility that on June 6th, it would be like the eye of a hurricane where the weather was calm and you wouldn't even think anything was going on. And he went to Eisenhower on Sunday and said, look, here's my data, and look at the charts. And I think that Tuesday, the very next day, the weather was going to be perfect, and then it would probably get bad again. But in the meantime, the Allies would have a chance to land the troops, the people on there, and they would catch Germany by surprise, because Germany thinks they're not going to, launch during a hurricane. And so with that data, Eisenhower decided to take a chance. It still did not have complete data. It was not a positive, this is going to be the case. It was still an educated guess. And so he decided that he would postpone the launch for one more day from June 5th to June 6th. And so everything was set. They decided that on Sunday, that everything would be in place and ready to go at 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, June 6th. And that's what they did. And because of those circumstances, Eisenhower was able to go through the process of having the troops land. It was a successful landing within 2 or 3 hours. I mean, the beach was covered with them, with allies. The Americans, the Brits, and the Canadians were all landed on those 5 beaches. Utah Beach, Omaha Beach. What was the other ones? Gold, Sword, and I can't remember the 5th one. Anyway, it was successful. Now, you have to keep in mind that most of the important decisions that anybody makes in life will generally be made with imperfect, incomplete, good data. However, we still have to decide to go forward. Otherwise, we end up crawling into a corner, sucking our thumb, and doing nothing. Providence rewards the prepared. Gather as much data as you can, think about it, and then you might want to offer a prayer saying, what should I do? And the Spirit will come to you if you're prepared, and the odds are in your favor that when you make that choice to go forward, you will be successful. Thank you. Always faithful.